You from there, John. Now let's bring in our panel, host of the Guy Benson Show and Fox News contributor Guy Benson. Fox News contributor Richard Fowler is here. Welcome to both of you. Guy, listening to Peter Doocy's report there, I'm thinking, if this thing's so popular with the American people, why does the president have to spend so much time selling it?
I think he recognizes that the idea of COVID relief is very popular. That's reflected in the polls. So he wants to get out there and attach his name and his face to something that most Americans support. And of course, he'll be highlighting the pieces that are extremely popular, which could have gotten a lot of Republican support in a more tailored and reasonable bill. I'd remind you that Republicans and Democrats voted for trillions of dollars in COVID relief on a bipartisan basis under President Trump. This is a purely partisan bill for good reason. It is stuffed with waste. 700 billion of it or so doesn't even start to go out the door until next year, 2023 and beyond. And it's a power grab by the Democrats. They want to make sure that it's still framed as COVID relief and not the power grab that it is.
And of course, that's why not a single Republican supported it, Richard. One way he could get the message out there and let the American people know what's in it for them is to perhaps take questions from reporters, hold a solo news conference, which he has not done in his 55 days in office. Why not, Richard?
Look, I do think that the president should answer questions from the press, but it's worth pointing out that what we do get every day from this White House is a coherent, sane, and well-done White House press briefing from Press Secretary Jen Psaki, which we did not get under Donald Trump. But to talk about the bill in particular, I think what this bill does and why it's so popular with the American people is because there's so many Americans that are out there hurting. There's a lot of public schools that are trying to reopen, and what this bill does is give the largest investment to public education that we've seen in American history. And this money will go directly to making class sizes smaller, to make sure teachers get the PPE they need, to make sure we prioritize educators for the vaccine. All things that the American people agree on.
All right, you mentioned the briefings, and Guy, I know you're chomping at the bit to respond to that. You mentioned the briefings. Psaki was asked, plain and simple, in one yesterday, why doesn't Biden go down and see for himself what's happening at our southern border? Here's Psaki.
Quick follow-up on the border. Does President Biden plan to visit the border?
I don't have any trips to preview for you at this point in time. If we do, we will certainly preview them.
Something he's considering or talking about?
I don't have anything to preview for you.
Perhaps she'll circle back, Guy.
Yeah. So first of all, on the schools piece, of the money allocated for schools in this new law that's been signed, the vast majority of it, more than 90%, doesn't start getting spent until 2023 through 2028. So it has nothing to do with reopening schools. On the border piece, I'm not surprised that President Biden isn't excited or eager to go down and look at a crisis that his policies and his rhetoric have created directly. Of course, he inherited dysfunction at the southern border. We have a messed up immigration system. It's been true for decades. But he came in and made matters worse by undoing reasonable policies under President Trump. That was preening. It also sent a signal. And now the magnet is on. We have a huge crisis at the border, and the administration won't even admit that it's a crisis, having caused it themselves.
And you've got these mayors in some of these border towns, Richard, saying that they can't even afford to take care of the migrants that are coming over. It's a huge problem for some of these individual towns, seeing these current surges. Now you look at Dallas taking in all these teenage migrants, age 15 to 17. Final thoughts from you. Certainly, this is something that Biden could shed more light on. He could provide more clarity. He could certainly see it with his own eyes.
Well, Sandra, I sympathize with the argument there because I think you're right. This is Biden's border now. Now that Donald Trump is gone, this border and the border policies belong to Joe Biden. But it's worth pointing out that we have seen since 2014, we've seen over 40,000 unaccompanied minors come to this country. No president has been great at dealing with this issue. And what I hope we'll see from the Biden administration is some concrete policy. And I also hope that he will urge Congress to get their job done and pass some comprehensive immigration reform that will deal with the issues at our southern border.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. Thanks to both of you. I think there's a lot of questions still unanswered in all of that.
Sandra.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Richard.